up because it's available. They can go get it at dispensaries. Now, I know violence has gone up. Violence goes up because of the depression and an addiction. Because like alcohol is an addiction. You're shocked at how many states are in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm shocked. And then there's mixed ones where, medicinal.
It's medicinal. Medicinal.
Sorry, not medicinal.
It does sound, like, that's the only way I understand what it means is that it's spelled medicinal. But a lot of people who drink cough syrup tell you that it's for medicinal purposes, but it's not. You should never drink it.
Right. Wow.
So when it says mix, then is that what we're talking specifically only for the use of medicinal?
Yes. Wow. So if you're 14, you think you got glaucoma, that's not going to work. Unless you're that's what the kids say. I got glaucoma.
And they don't even know what glaucoma is.
What's glaucoma? I don't know. Sounds
but I have it.
Oh my god.
That is funny.
Oh goodness.
What else you got, Maria?
Okay, marijuana affects each person differently depending on their biology, the plant's potency, previous experience with drugs, the way a person uses the drug, and the use of alcohol or other drugs at the same time. Some people feel nothing at all when they use marijuana. Some people feel relaxed or high. Others suddenly get anxious and paranoid. This happens especially when a person uses stronger marijuana, takes too much, or isn't used to taking it. We're still learning about how marijuana affects the brain and how long the effects will last, especially after someone stops using the drug.
Wow.
So what are some of the common effects of marijuana on the body, brain, and behavior?
Tell us, Maria.
Regular marijuana use has also been linked to memory and relationship problems, poor mental and physical health, lower salaries, and less career success.
Lower salaries. Mm-hmm. And what was that about relationships?
Poor relationships.
Poor. Why would they have poor relationships?
Poor relationships or relationship problems. That's what it means.
Because of the depression it causes?
Yes.
It's a drug.
Correct. So we have the short-term effects. Learning, attention, and memory problems, distorted perception that includes sights, sound, time, and touch, poor coordination, increased heart rate, anxiety, paranoia, psychosis.
Oh.
Those are the short-term effects. Now we have effects that last longer than the short-term, but may not be permanent. Learning and memory problems is one of them, as well as sleep problems. And for the long-term effects, we have the risk of marijuana addiction, long-term learning and memory problems, if heavily used, begins during youth, risk for chronic cough, bronchitis, risk of schizophrenia in some people with higher genetic risk, in rare cases, risk of recurrent episodes of severe nausea and vomiting.
That's what some people say, but it actually does cause it. They haven't done research on marijuana the way they should have. They just went off and made it a medicine. And like, how do you dose marijuana smoke? When you smoke it, how do you make it to dose?
Right.
So there's a lot of things they didn't do with it. They prescribe it for depression. They prescribe it for anxiety, but it causes depression. It causes anxiety. Now, some people will tell you there's different strains that'll help you, certain strains. I think that if somebody is using it for medicinal, they'll do a lot of research. They'll know what strains to use, but the majority of people aren't doing that. They're just using it. Yeah. But there's people that tell you, like, there's a strain that will get you hyper versus the depressed, but it still causes depression. Eventually, it'll still cause the depression.
Right.
So addiction, what is that? People don't think it's addicting.
I believe it. I don't want any part of it. I mean, I don't need any new habits, bad habits. And it's probably pretty cheap to get, right? But
it's actually got really expensive. Yeah.
And you have to add it to the time. There's not time anymore. And what I think based on the stereotypes anyway, is that it stops momentum. I mean, when you talk about it helps depression, I also see it immobilizing you so that you don't have any momentum in life. You're not interested in going out and doing.
Right.
I think a lot of people in our country are already stagnant in the world. Not even just our country. I don't mean to sound political.
And I tell kids that I compare it to alcohol. Alcohol can help you with depression.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol can help you with anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And then they tell you, well, it's horrible, it causes addiction. But it's the same thing with marijuana. Because alcohol can do those things. I mean, yeah, any kind of chemical you put in your body, like alcohol, it can bring you up, because it'll bring you up, then it brings you down. Marijuana relaxes you. The problem is the withdrawal. You go through a withdrawal.
Yeah.
That's where the depression comes in. Not that marijuana causes you to be depressed, or you smoke and you become violent. It's the withdrawal. That's where you get agitated. That's where the problem comes in. The withdrawal. And they don't tell you that.
Or you can get too relaxed.
Yeah. Well, you go in the state of depression, and what happens is chronic marijuana smokers. This is the addiction. Is they don't like to feel that anxiety when they come off of it, so they continue to use, and that's the cycle. And then some of them will switch to Xanax for that anxiety or bars,
Right.
Or then you have alcohol. They'll sip on alcohol all day.
Then you get in a vicious cycle.
Yeah, and before you know it, you're on it. One of the things I was going to say was the perception of not being addicted is one of the things now that they're saying happens.
Right.
Like drugs will do that. It'll give you the perception that you're not addicted.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that drugs do, and that's why people right away, I'm not addicted.
So drugs are a con.
Yeah.
That's what they are.
Yeah.
Very good.
But one more thing, with the COVID, you're smoking marijuana, it lowers your immune system. You're more susceptible
Well, and if you're already
COVID.
to any kind of
if it
illness or
already
but
causes
COVID. Yes.
if it already causes a respiratory distress, then
Yes.
it's just gonna
Yeah. Plus, it affects your liver. You
Yeah.
know, and it lowers your immunity. So
Yeah.
if you're drinking and you're using marijuana, you're going to lower your immune system. You'll be more susceptible to that.
Right.
Because we're under COVID right now, and we're all wearing masks while we're talking.
Yeah. I saw a mask. There's a mask on the microphone.
There is.
is.
It is.
Thank you for coming and teaching us, Miss Mary Joanna.
No, thank you,
You're
Miss
welcome.
Maria
You're welcome.
Joanna.
I'll prepare myself for CBD and
Y'all want to say hi to any schools?
I have really become fond of W.E. Griner and their LLC. I'll say that. Those are some stand-up people.
Wonderful.
Yes.
we do.
And then
Yeah.
Thomas Jefferson.
And Thomas Jefferson and Joe. He's such a winner.
Anthony Brown. Carrie.
Carrie.
Ben Milam, Martin Weiss, Jack Lowe,
Martha
Thomas
Turner
Marsalis.
Riley.
Yes, Martha
Mercedes.
Turner Riley.
Well, this would be show number 1.
Hasta la vista.
Hasta luego. Hasta CBD.
So we'll do CBD next time.
We'll do CBD next time.